In the last video, we introduced classifications within Techlify HR and help you understand how you can limit access to specific employees from maybe a payroll clerk or some junior level payroll manager that you don't want to see those employees' data. And in that scenario, we blocked our payroll clerks from seeing our directors' salaries. Now, in this video, I want to go a little bit deeper into classifications because it does provide more features. Now, let's take an example here. We have, again, we're logged in as you, who is a payroll clerk rather. And let's look at Mana, who's our deputy CEO. If we go to Mana's profile, we can see here that, actually, let me give Ziu some more. Let's make Ziu an HR assistant or an HR officer as well. Yeah, let's give Ziu some more access. All right. And let me just refresh this page. There we go. So if we go to Mana's profile, we'll see Ziu, who's also an HR officer, can see things like Mana's appraisal, maybe her leave information, infractions that she would have been involved in. And maybe we want Ziu to see these bits of information for our employees. However, we may not want her to see that information for management staff. And Techlify HR's classification feature allows you to do that. So let me show you how we can do that. Let's go ahead and add a new classification, and let's call this one senior employees. And once again, we're able to specify which roles have access to this classification. And again, we'll say, okay, HR manager, payroll manager can access the employees that we're limiting here. In this case, we're only going to limit to Mana because Mana is the only senior employee in this scenario. Now, based on our previous video, this here would limit Ziu's access to Mana, so Ziu will no longer see Mana. Because if we don't specify any data limitation, then all data gets limited. However, there is a data limitation feature within Techlify HR, and what it says is that which employee data is restricted by this classification, meaning by default we're limiting the entire employee's record. However, you also have the ability to limit only a subset of the employee's data. So now let's just say we wanted to limit appraisals. Let's say we wanted to limit infractions, and let's say we wanted to limit training. All right, so we're saying for Mana, we're limiting access to appraisal, infraction, and training, and the only people who can see this data is the HR manager and payroll manager. I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and there you go. You can see this classification was created. You'll see the data limitation shows up here. Now, if we go back here to Ziu's profile and we refresh the page, what will happen is that go under appraisal, Ziu will not be able to see appraisals, Ziu will not be able to see infractions, and Ziu will not be able to see training data for Mana. Even if we go under the trainings tab, right? You remember we had added trainings for all of our employees. So if I go to trainings here, right? So Ziu will see everybody else excepting Mana. And even if I pull up completed courses, right, you'll see there's no data for Mana here. However, if we come back to Training Inc.'s profile, and Training Inc. is a payroll manager, and I go to trainings, you'll see Training Inc. is able to see the trainings for Mana. But if I pull up, once again, pulling up Ziu's profile, there is no record for Mana here. But Ziu can see training information for all other employees, and that's how you're able to limit access of a subset of the employee's information, not only the ability to limit the entire profile. If you didn't want to do that and you only wanted to limit part of the employee's profile, you can do that with Techlify HR's classification feature. And let's just go back to show you how that's done. Now, our first classification, if we open it, you'll see we're saying all these two employees, we're completely limiting them to these roles. And that's why within ZU's profile here, ZU cannot see any of these employees. However, if I switch back and I go to the second classification, I'm saying for senior employees, right, these employees, these are the roles that can access the limited employees, but I'm only limiting this data from the employees. That's why ZU can access Mana's profile, but ZU cannot see Mana's appraisal data, infraction data, or training data. And that there is some of the more powerful features of Techlify HR's classification feature.